And we keep things rolling here on the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado, and this story hit the newswire a few days ago, and it really has stirred a lot of controversy, a lot of talk, not just in the entertainment world, not just in the sports world, but here locally within communities in Chicago. And that has to do with the announcement that Riot Fest has relocated from Douglas Park to SeatGeek Stadium. But the biggest part of that story locally when it comes to the sports world, and quite frankly, a social issue that I think really is a glaring focal point, a target, a highlight of what a lot of people are talking about when this story picked up. It's been double booked with the Chicago Red Stars. This comes to us from NBC5 Chicago. Chicago Red Stars exploring options for September 21st game after Riot Fest relocation. The Red Stars play their home games at SeatGeek Stadium, which will play host to Riot Fest September 20th through the 22nd. Riot Fest made waves this week when it announced it would be moving from Chicago's Douglas Park and out to suburban SeatGeek Stadium. But that news could have impact on the Chicago Red Stars soccer club. The Red Stars, who just set an attendance record in the NWSL, that's the National Women's Soccer League, over the weekend at Wrigley Field, are scheduled to take on the San Diego Wave FC at SeatGeek Stadium on September 21st, right in the middle of Riot Fest's three-day festival in Bridgeview. The team released a statement on Wednesday after the Riot Fest announcement, saying that the double booking of the stadium grounds illustrates challenges faced by women's sports teams. Quote, it's unfair and unfortunate to have our club put in a situation shining a light on the vast discrepancies in treatment of women's professional sports versus men's professional sports, team president Karen Lietzau said in a statement. The club says it's exploring its options for the game, but it did not elaborate on where they can potentially contest the game. Quote, we are committed to ensuring our players and fans have a first-rate experience on and off the pitch, and we are working diligently to find a solution that will ensure our September 21st game is a success, Lietzau said. If the Red Stars were to seek out a venue change, they wouldn't be able to use Wrigley Field again, as the Cubs have a scheduled home game against the Washington Nationals. Soldier Field's two primary tenants, the Chicago Bears and Chicago Fire FC, are both on the road that weekend, with the Bears in Indianapolis to play the Colts and the Fire in Montreal. Guaranteed Rate Field is also vacant on the Saturday, with the White Sox in San Diego taking on the Padres. Riot Fest, which has been held in Douglas Park for nearly 10 years, announced the move on Tuesday, citing issues with the Chicago Park District as the reason for the change. The festival will be held over 3 days from September 20th to the 22nd and will be part of Riot Land, with numerous stages, food, vendors, and more taking place around SeatGeek Stadium. And thank you again to NBC5 Chicago. Check out the article, The Chicago Red Stars Exploring Options for September 21st Game After Riot Fest Relocation. So full disclosure, as you've been listening to this episode of the Sports Cubicle, we are sponsored by Riot Fest. We've been sponsored by Riot Fest the last, 3 years at this point. And they've been awesome partners. And they put on great shows. And it's a great time for a lot of people. This, again, highlights so many different things, though. Let's just talk about the big elephant in the room. This wouldn't happen if it was the MSL, just like their counterpart in the men's league. That would never happen. It sure as hell would never happen in the NBA, NHL, MLB, any of these other sports. There's no way. The honesty is, yes, it's not as big of a sport. It's not as popular as a sport. But this team just came off of over 40,000 people at Wrigley Field watching them play soccer. So it's not like they don't have a following. It's not like they don't have awesome marketing, because the Chicago Red Stars have some of the greatest kits, some of the best uniforms in the city of Chicago. They do have a fan base. They have some awesome players that end up playing nationally. So there is a lot to like about the Red Stars. There is a lot of promise with the Red Stars. There is a lot of money to be made with the Red Stars. But it's the simple fact that it's not these other sports. It's to the point now where WNBA, this wouldn't happen to them. And this is now. Now we have to be able to have the nuanced conversation, because this would happen to a lot of different organizations and a lot of different pro leagues, a lot of esports. You know, there's a lot of sports that we don't talk about, from swimming and gymnastics and powerlifting and esports and all these different great sports, great activities, great feats of accomplishment for people that get delayed, moved, postponed, canceled all the time, because it doesn't have the fanfare. It doesn't have the backing. It doesn't have the money. This was a case, though, that the Red Stars was out of their hands. It had nothing to do with popularity. It had nothing to do with money in their hands. It had to do with the fact that the stadium and the county, the city, Chicago, the Park District, the bureaucracy that happens in the city of Chicago, state of Illinois, once again, trickles down and costs everybody else. That's what happened in this case. The Chicago Red Stars got screwed over. And it wouldn't happen to other sports. Is it strictly a gender issue? No. But you better be damn sure that it is. Part of the problem is the gender disparity of popularity money spread across these leagues. But I think more than anything is how classy the awesome athletes of the Chicago Red Stars have taken at the organization. I think other parties could have been better about this, the way they presented themselves, especially on social media. With this is a chance for people to learn and to not make this mistake again, and for people to do their due diligence. Because even if this was not intentional, even if this was an innocent mistake, the perception of overbooking a stadium that hosts one of the more popular women's teams in soccer that just sold out Wrigley Field is a horrible look, whichever way you want to spin it. But I don't think this is any fault of Riot Fest, of Red Stars, Red Star fans. This is always and will always come down to the people in charge. Where was the NSWL? Where was SeatGeek? And where were the two cities? So we want to know your thoughts of this story. We wanted to bring it up because it's a fascinating one on so many different levels, as the Chicago Red Stars are now going to have to find a new venue for their game against San Diego on September 21st, as SeatGeek Stadium has been double booked with its new tenant, Riot Fest. So we want to know your thoughts. Let us know. We're on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV. We got a whole lot left here on this edition of the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado.